Now, today, I want to discuss about the children who show a little bit of, social adjustment difficulties in school. Usually, middle schoolers and high schoolers, those children have different issues. And then elementary students at that young age, and they were grown under parents and probably their parents are more child-oriented, protective, permissive. Those parents really raised children with little darlings, and instead of teaching for social emotional strengths and self-discipline or self-regulation, those more like their character strengths, instead of they focus on those, they may really just love their children and try to be at their level, and whatever their behaviors, like behavior communication and tantrums, whinings, and they just wanna stop that and listen to them instead of how we can discontinue those children's emotional exhaustive communication. So children were raised like that, and then they suddenly out of parents' hands, and then come to school, and there's small classrooms with 20, 30 children with one teacher. And if they feel like, adults' attention is gone, and they feel very like a shaky, fragile there, because they cannot occupy the adult attention, adult affection, and adult approval. So those basic needs, they fully received from their home parents. Then now they came to school, and then school parents, yes, school teachers, like school parents, right? School teachers distribute all those humane love and affections to 20 to 30 children. So many children feeling they are just kind of neglected and isolated, and then have difficulties and cannot follow classroom rules and teachers directions and instructions. So they are kind of a delay in school education, and then parents talk to the teacher, teacher talk to the parents about those issues. And school district itself, they try to find some alternative way of, helping these children so they can feel comfortable. So instead of we focus on teaching them those social emotional strengths and then self-strengths, we focus on more changing environment, accommodating environment. So even, another school has open school. That open school means any children, they can go to that school out of their neighborhood schools. So that school is more, I'm not saying lenient, but more flexible, and then teachers more understand their individual child differences and then their difficulties. So that is, one way we try to adapt, adjust, accommodate that world, and environment is a children's world, right? And we try to manage those words, environment, instead of educating children and discipline children for their own strengths. So that's what trends these days, and especially in modern society, that family dynamics is so much changed, and we have more fragile children. That fragile doesn't mean their physical health fragile. It is more like a mental fragile, social, emotional fragile, and then maturity fragile. So those are fragile children, and we have a more increasing numbers. So we have to just think, when we have children with those, social issues, emotional issues, or just like a weak self-awareness and self-concept, and then adults just what we should do, and then they discuss, and then they transfer these children to a different school inside the district, and they make just one designate one school for those children. Or parents, if the school district doesn't do any, and then parents find alternative schooling. So it could be private school, it could be homeschooling. So parents just quit their jobs and then stay home and just give homeschooling. So more smaller word, or just change the word. However, except the homeschooling is just still new to the children, because mom, dad never thought about just those academics. Now they have to follow those rules. So, however, whatever environment they change, still it's new to those children. It's a new adjustment. So it's not 100% solutions adults can provide. And then elementary school we do that, and then from the secondary school, what should we do? Still we separate them from general populations and more like make alternative population, alternative environment, and then we move them there after they graduate high school. And then what can we do for these young adults? Now they are young adults. So from young age, we didn't teach them how to live this world, how to deal with this world, how to face this world, their world. And then they grew up like, adults accommodations. And then later on, they became young adults. And then what should they do? That is why many college students live on pills, anxiety pills, and any kind of, just mental health related pills and mind related pills they have. And easily doctors and counselors prescribe those pills, and then they started having that in freshman year. And then I saw many students in college students, they continue, having those pills. And it's I'm not saying it's an addiction, but they don't trust themselves. When I have a personal advising and meetings with my students, and then I asked, do you still have those anxiety? And they said, well, I'm okay now because I'm junior, I'm sophomore. So did you stop? And they said, no, I still take it in the morning. And I asked the reasons, and they said, just, I feel safe. And the whole day I can sail smoothly, just get through the day without much, those nervousness and anxiety and pressures and all that. So it means somehow these children may not have a courage to stop and test themselves. Okay, so it is that young age, and you hold yourself socially, emotionally, psychologically, mentally. That is all strengths we need, right? So that started from very young age, even though I'm not saying those young age, they are taking pills or any. However, from that young age, they're not educated, disciplined, or just raised, reared, those, with those strengths. So they're not get that from, learn from their parents at home. And then they left that small home social environment and then went to school, and then big environment there, right? However, the school building is huge. However, the classroom is small, but still, that is the first experience for many of these children, having that many same age peers in a small, dense classroom. So, and then only one adult. So first experiences. And then they may have some, no friends there, and they don't know how to initiate, peer relationships, peer interactions. And then if teachers do not focus and look into these children's behaviors, language, and then their attitude, all that, and then easily just teachers could just, pass that. So these children, those, fragile social emotion, and then never had a chance to get strength or learned from parents and then teachers. So it is very important. Okay, so I see this, we could change the whole world or just environment for the children, and then we provide accommodation, we provide the social, adjustment, whatever just needs we do, and then we could even create, designate one school for that. We could do all that, but it is later, it seems like it is all for these children. However, eventually these children have to sail out to the world by themselves. So they have to, move on and fly out to the world and live by themselves. So, and then do they have these strengths? Any kind of little difficulties they have in their jobs, so in the classrooms, college classrooms, or conflict with the professors, conflict with any other people. So can they deal with those stressful moments and those, anxieties? So this is very important. It is just, looks like, we usually just pass this and overlook this. However, from very young age and even from home, we have to focus it. And then these children go to school, so they get through all these. So it's not only these children, every child. I still remember my boys, they are very socially, emotionally, very strong boys. However, I hear them in the new school year. They didn't say that in young and elementary school. However, once they're in high school, they were very extremely nervous. Their first worry is in first lunch in school, first day, who's gonna sit by me or I sit by them? It was their biggest worry if they went to lunch and then there is nobody they know or no friends around. If they find a spotted friends, they can go and sit down. However, I heard, that very nervous. So that much, even, my boys are very strong student, and then I never doubted their social emotional strengths. I was shocked in the beginning, and then that was a big realization. It's how difficult it is. It is a part of this, here. What can I say? I'm gonna compare with the Korean schools. I just made this lecture, I believe, some before. Korean school, Asian schools, I'm just not only Korean schools, most Asian schools, they pretty much move on grade levels. They change teachers because the teachers, like first grade teacher, second grade teacher, third grade teacher. Not like this, they change teachers, and then teachers continuously teach different grades. Not like here, some teachers just taught only first grade for 40 years and retire. Not that kind of. And then I'm not sure about the other Asian schools, but Korean schools, public schools, and private schools, they go the same teachers, but public school teachers, just every 4 years, they transfer. They just, that is just a rule, public education law about the teachers, and principals, and vice principals, and then teachers. So every, I believe it's 4 years, it could be 5 years, but every 4 years, they change teachers. So they have a new schools. Every 4 years, new schools. So if it's not only children, it's teachers have those new environment every 4 years. Okay, so when they just go to schools like that, and then that much, my boys' experiences and then even teachers, it's just they have those moments. So as a parent at home, your children come to, come home, And they talked about schools, and then it is all up to parents, what types of parents they have. They share their difficulties to parents, and then child-oriented parents, permissive parents, protective parents. These parents feel responsibility and duties to do something for their children. So they believe they just looked for other schools and then charter schools and private schools. And they just, if they cannot do homeschooling, they just try to find and something else, what kind of options they have. So their children go to school and then they can have fun there. And then they can have a good, school life instead of realization of, okay, I have to work on this. Instead of they focus on their children and then what kind of needs in their parenting for 5 years and 6 years of parenting, why they missed, they never imagined, because there is no perfect parents. We always have something missing. Even, I'm an educator, I was a teacher and then teacher educator. Still, I have tons of regrets of what I should do, should have done, didn't do, tons of regrets. I still feel sorry for my boys, even though they are making their life okay. So that's a parent's position. So we check ourselves for 5, 6, 7 years, our parenting at home, and what holes, what loopholes we had. And then we work on this. And then we talk to children. We don't give them advice. However, we talk to children. This is a natural happenings to anybody, not only you. Okay? And we share our experience with the age what we had. And just let them know when children feel this is only to me, I'm the only one, and then they feel anxiety and they feel nervous and they feel fear, even very fearful. However, this is common to everyone. Everyone just doesn't talk about it, but they all feel that, and then it comforts them. And then parents talk about, what made you feel that? And then, how was it you, just what did you say? And then who you sit by, and just how's teacher approached, just like, storytelling types of talking. As long as when children first time talk about their schooling, if a parent do not scold them, so you're the only one, everybody gets through this, there's no exceptions, and then you just should be tough and strong and move on. Or, oh, my baby, and then what should I do for you? And that kind of inside, and then their brain is busy to find alternative schooling and whatever just they want to just think about, and they just talk to their friends if there is any better schools and better private schools and what kind of options they have. Okay, so parents just be with the child emotionally empathetic about the child's situation. And then at least the child comes home, and then they can share their emotional difficulties with the parents. And then parents can many parents do that. They intentionally make a circle of friendship without their child, notice. And they just have some kids together and then throw the parties for children party, and parents just bring some stuff to classrooms, so or classroom kids just know whose mom brought this. So parents secretly they work on the children who do not have friends, and then they just talked about this, so that's the way of what parents do. At least always children feels my parents always beside me or behind me, and my parents don't judge me, don't criticize me, they don't give me any cynical reactions and sarcastic reactions. always understand me. And then the child come home and then they share not the story, only story is about their mind. If they just deliver only story and then parents can talk and then just a very wise way, just ask the child, so how did you feel when, the boy talked to you like that, when teacher talked to you like that? Because anyway, the sailing, what is that? I forgot that name, paddling. These are the child job. Child gotta do it. Child gotta move on. Children gotta move on, right? So parents just strengthen them to move on. So by child, they realize themselves. So that is the time they build self-awareness, self-concept, self-confidence, and self-competence or efficacy, right? They know who I am while they are doing that. So that is a 12 years of schooling, and then 5 to 18. That's why we call it a developmental age. So always the parents' home, parents' job is like that. And then many children do not have I'm saying not just most children, but many parents, especially children, especially large city schools, children, their percentage is opposite. Here is about 20-30% of children may not have a strong parents support. However, large city schools, they have more, about 60-70% of children have parents, no interest, no just motivation in children's education. And they just, even though they talk about, somebody just, their social part, and then just their parents may just yell at them, just get tough, get strong, and fight. So who knows, any kind of, those kind of response. So for these children need teachers. That is a new modern teacher's job. That previously parents always behind the children and just more focused on children. Well, actually parents could be busy on the farm. However, they have many siblings, so they could take care of each other. However, these days, most of homes have, one child or two, or just maximum 3, 4. I just barely see more than 4 children. So those interaction, and then like my boys, their age difference is big, and then there is no sharing, right? So in school, so teachers gotta do this job. So always a teacher encourage me, and then teacher always believe in me, and then they encourage me, and then you can do it. Any difficulties, and once in a while, teacher and students sit down after school and have a talk, and then child can share those experiences. So teacher must put their eyes on the children, individual children. And more in this digital world, any kind of a curriculum content, academic content is out there on the digital, Google, you Google it, and then almost, you can teach yourself. Look at that Khan Academy. Many secondary students get the better education, knowledge education from those kind of sources. And then many university professors, lecturers out there, and then those secondary students can study about. Only these humane part, that's the teachers kind of, I know, all the time teachers do that, but still, more it required the teachers to put their eyes on children to see their social, emotional part. So those maturity part. So as I said, cognitive maturity is a self-control, self-regulation, and then self-management and self-discipline, right? And then that's self-awareness, self-concept. And then they can delay their gratification. They don't feel uneasy. They can wait. They can wait for the result. So that's a human strength and personality strengths and characteristic, character strengths. So we have to work on this. So it's not just, we don't have those subject areas to teach morals and ethics and character educations. We don't have those curriculums. However, we may just need at least once a week, at least 30 minutes, 1 hour. Teachers may teach this part, especially on Fridays, and it's most of people are just, it's Friday weekend mode. So they may just have some, portion after lunch, and teachers may just work on this and talk about this and just have a children's response, or just play some educational games with it. And we really need this. So again, I know, my speaking is not really like a pretty much, goal-oriented lectures today. However, I just in the middle of my preparing my lectures, and then I had a question: what should we do for children who show social adjustment difficulties? Then we're gonna transfer them to a different school and find alternative schooling, or do homeschooling, or just find a private school. Or we're gonna discipline. Discipline means education. We're gonna educate them to adapt to themselves, because that is attribution theory as well, right? We always see ourselves. So it doesn't mean we put ourselves down and we don't trust ourselves. It's not that. It's only in the whole world, only one thing we can change, modify, work on is ourselves. We cannot change environment. We cannot change other people's mind, right? It doesn't mean you always self-conscious, always just don't trust yourself, and then you have to constantly test yourself. It's not that. It is a good meaning. Yes, in a social context, you have to test yourself. What strengths you have, okay? So when they feel like, they are stand alone on the edge of a cliff or desert, they just inside the classroom with the full of peers and the teacher there. However, they once a while feel that, or that's in the beginning, they have a very big and anxious and nervous and fear and all those feelings. They feel like they're only one feeling that. And then parents catch that and teacher catch that, and they could see the child weakness in there. And then instead of finding alternative environment, alternative conditions, we strengthen them, we educate them. Somehow oversensitivity is the same. Children with autism and some children have very oversensitivity, especially the children with visual perception deficit. I'm not saying this oversensitivity is not part of autism or just a part of something, but we cannot eliminate the possibility this oversensitivity could be by their difficulty interpreting what that source is, what that information is. So it's like at nighttime, very, very dark, no street light. You walk there around the corner, you hear something, and then you freeze there. It's the same thing. Only you freeze there because you do not know what make the sounds. Is it the human's foot sound, or animals' sounds, or even tree leaves sounds? Who knows? Right? Until you find out what that is, you are nervous and frightened, and you cannot even move. So that's an oversensitivity. So some kids just flight, and some kids just fight, and some kids just freeze. So those are 3 responses we have. So many times, even children, even though they have autism, many times they may not interpret what that is. That's why they overly react and show extreme social, emotional distress and outburst. So gradually, very, very tiny steps, we expose them to that, stimuli. they show extreme oversensitivity, let them experience, let them know what that is. And then still they hate it. There is no one love a vacuum sound right there in my room, right there, their vacuum sound. It really just, hit our nerves and then just make us uneasy, right? And the loud more sound out there just around my window, you can't stand that. It is very loud. And then you probably find some earbud and pod and just put it ear so you don't have to hear, and then you just turn on music. Why? Because it just hits your nerves. It's painful. However, you just find your own treatment, right? Put just listening to music louder, or you just move your body to different place. So, temporarily you can avoid that voice. And then when you have some beams so strong, and then you take out your sunglasses and then wear sunglasses, because we know those are very unpleasant, bothering, and touch our nerves. Still, since we know what that is, and then we protect ourselves, and then we just find a way of, just avoid that, or just, endure that. So these are our children. It's instead of changing, just accommodate the whole environment for them and young age. And then once they became young adults and go out to the world, they have to live with that, because the parents are no more around me. I'm outside at job and work, or my parents passed away. I'm just kind of, over middle age. I cannot do that anymore, right? So we have to, especially those children, young age. That's why we should say potential intelligence, potential cognition, not just disability. We prepare them, and we have those perspectives. And then from young age, gradually, very small step, but gradually we shape those behaviors, and then those sensitivity, we can strengthen them. It's the same thing. Our children in school, they show these social emotional difficulties. Instead of we remove them from that environment and then just change to alternative environment, instead of doing that, they feel, even though they are standing on the edge of cliff, or just a desert by themselves, in the middle of island, and then around the oceans, they feel nobody can come and save me. Still, they know somebody's watching me, and anytime I have just maximum heat, I cannot stand anymore, and then they will be behind me and save me. That kind of a trust that they have in adults, and then they will move on and just deal with. They will practice. Okay, so I rather choose this side than, just I rather trust the education and discipline than protect our students, and then they just take it one of diversity. So we accept it as it is. Accept it as it is means we don't teach them, because we just take it as a natural phenomena, right? We don't teach them. They never learn it then. So disability became excuse. And many children, we don't trust, we don't believe, we know it. There are a lot of, misdiagnosis, misidentification, because we test these children through their behaviors, through examination, not scientific method, even though those method, those instrument they prove the scientific through norm testing. We know that. However, there is no absolute test, just only just God believed test we have. It's not that. It's all about human jobs. right? That's why I tell my students, don't trust any evaluation, formal evaluation, and you believe you have a perspective, so this child has a disability. So whatever result, outcomes, your teaching outcomes you see, then there is no outcomes you believe it because this child has a disability. It's not. That little small outcomes is a teacher's failure, not child failure. It's not because the child has a disabilities. Either child has difficulties, but teacher have this much high instructional goals and objectives. Instead of going step by step and shaping the child, bring the child, taking the child up step, very, very tiny small steps, and then we shape. They just have this, the child is here, and then they have here, objectives here, and then these gaps, how can the child can jump this high in one time, 1 year. It is just an exception, you cannot do that, right? Or teacher may not identify what area child has difficulties, didn't consider those holes, potholes the teacher has to fill and then straight iron it, so child can go smoothly and move on and shaping and step by step. Okay, so we are saying there is every child can learn. It is based on the adults, how they see exactly what blocks them, what hurdles they have. And then we strengthen their prerequisite skills so they can jump over those hurdles. That is a teacher's job. That's why we became a teacher for that job. Okay, so it is important to, instead of just accommodate the environment 100%. I'm not saying we should not do that. We should do it. However, that's not all you do, and then that is incorrect. It's not right way you do. We have to go together. Right now, child is painful, so we have to accommodate. However, we have to strengthen them. Very, very small steps, and gradually we gotta move on. It is very important how this is our teaching attitude, and then teaching philosophy and teaching belief and perspectives. So we have to check ourselves and reflect ourselves, what kind of teachers and parents we are. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna stop here.